This is the story of how one of the most successful games in internet history slowly pushed out the very players who built it. Adopt Me. If you played Roblox at any point between 2019 and 2022, you already know the name and you probably remember exactly where you were when it was everywhere. At its peak, 1.9 million people were playing simultaneously, a record that held for over 3 years. 600,000 concurrent players on an average day. The first game on Roblox to reach 25 billion visits. Major updates hit so hard they knocked Roblox's servers offline, not once but repeatedly, and the whole thing got built by two people who met on a gaming platform and decided to make something together. That same game now struggles to bring in 50,000 concurrent players on a good day, and the players who disappeared are largely the ones who were there from the start. Adopt Me launched on July 14th, 2017, created by two Roblox users named NewFissy and Bthink, where NewFissy handled all the scripting and technical work while Bthink took charge of the creative direction and building. What they released was a family roleplay experience in its simplest possible form, where you chose to be either a parent or a baby, and that was the entire game. No pets, no trading, no legendary dragons worth hundreds of dollars. Just kids on the internet pretending to raise each other. For 2 years, it stayed exactly that small. And then, June 15th, 2019, changed everything. The Pets update arrived and handed players something they hadn't asked for but immediately couldn't live without, which was the ability to hatch eggs and collect virtual animals. The first two pets ever added were the blue dog and the pink cat, hatched from limited blue and pink eggs that would never return once they ran out. Within 6 months of that single update, the game had crossed 3 billion visits, and the numbers only accelerated from there. Monthly active users doubled from 30 million to 60 million between January 2020 and January 2021 alone, and revenue grew 400% year over year in 2020. By May 2021, the studio formerly known as Dreamcraft had incorporated as Uplift Games LLC, and NewFissy and Bthink had gone from two people making something for fun to co-CEOs of a company pulling in roughly $60 million a year, almost entirely from microtransactions. All of that growth traced back to pets. What people tend to forget about Adopt Me at its height is that the players weren't simply logging in to play, they were maintaining a functioning economy. Rare pets like the bat dragon, obtainable only during Halloween 2019 by collecting 180,000 event candies, became status symbols that carried real weight. The shadow dragon, the frost dragon. These weren't cosmetics sitting in a menu somewhere, they functioned as currency, and players spent hundreds of hours grinding, trading, and negotiating their value.
Hi everyone, so today we are going to just be doing some grinding in my Mega Grind server.
Off-platform, some of those pets were changing hands for up to $300 in real money. These were the loyal players, the ones who had memorized every pet's trade value, who had accounts going back to the blue dog, who had wrapped their entire identity around what was sitting in their inventory. Uplift Games for a few years gave them exactly what they needed. Regular updates, new eggs, new limited pets, a world that kept expanding. The Ocean Egg update in April 2021 drew 1,920,889 concurrent players in a single day, setting an all-time record for the entire Roblox platform. And that number held for over 3 years. The cracks, though, were already there. By 2021, Adopt Me had earned a second reputation, and this one wasn't flattering. Scamming had spread through the game at a scale that was genuinely hard to ignore. The math made sense in an ugly way. When players are carrying the equivalent of hundreds of dollars in virtual pets and the average user is somewhere between 8 and 15 years old, bad actors show up. The most common method was called a trust trade, where a scammer convinces a player to hand over a rare pet first with a promise to trade something back, then leaves the server immediately. The pet is gone, and Uplift's official policy left no room for ambiguity. They do not return pets that players trade away, no exceptions. The situation got bad enough that CBBC Newsround, the BBC's children's news outlet, published a full guide on how to avoid Adopt Me scammers, which is the kind of press no game developer wants. Uplift responded on November 5th, 2020, with the trade license update requiring players to pass a short quiz at the in-game safety hub before they could trade ultra-rare or legendary items. The intent was to protect newer players from being talked into bad deals And for a while, it helped. The problem was that scammers simply adapted, which one community member described plainly. After the trading license came out, we were fine, till scammers came up with new ways. The scam problem never got solved, it just changed shape, and players started walking away, slowly at first, and then in bigger numbers. On August 1st, 2024, Uplift Games launched Pets Plus, a monthly subscription priced at $2.99. Behind that paywall sat a collection of features that veteran players immediately recognized as a problem. Equipping two pets at the same time became possible for the first time in the game's history, but only for subscribers. A streak saver that protected your daily login streak from breaking sat behind the same paywall, along with VIP room access, a unique name tag, and exclusive monthly items that couldn't be obtained any other way. The first month's exclusive was a golden bone used to obtain a Chow Chow pet in the VIP room. Starting August 30th, 2024 and running all the way through April 3rd, 2026, every subscription renewal included a golden petunia, which was the only method in the entire game to obtain a hummingbird pet. For players who had spent years building inventories and grinding for limited pets, this landed differently than a standard update. Veteran players who had already spent real money on Robux, who had already survived the scammer epidemic, who had already passed the trade license quiz, now faced a recurring monthly charge just to access features and pets that used to either not exist or be available to everyone. Community reaction arrived fast, with discussions centering on fairness and the reality that younger players without access to payment methods were simply locked out. One player put it this way: "AdoptMe is getting very greedy, making too many pets, houses, and abilities cost Robux." Another said, "I played a lot in 2022 and 2023, spent a bunch of money and a lot of time, got scammed out of everything, and never played again." These weren't casual complaints from players who'd tried the game twice. These were people who had given the game years. December 2024 brought a symbolic ending to one chapter of AdoptMe's story, when Blox Fruits surpassed 2.4 million concurrent players and officially broke the record. AdoptMe had held since April 2021. A number that had seemed untouchable for 3.5 years was gone in an afternoon. AdoptMe still runs. Weekly updates still drop. 40 billion total visits arrived in July 2025. And Uplift Games now employs around 60 people under the leadership of New Fissy and Bethink. The game is not finished. What is gone, though, are the players who built the culture around it. The ones who were there for the blue dog, who tracked trade values the way some people track stocks, who stuck around through the scammer epidemic and the trade license controversy and every rough patch along the way. A lot of those players logged off and didn't come back. The Pets Plus subscription cost $2.99 a month on paper, but for a significant portion of AdoptMe's most loyal players, what it actually cost was the belief that the game still had a place for them. And that's the kind of price you can't refund.